My name is Jim Lee. I'm the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service Forecast Office that covers Baltimore and Washington. We're located in Sterling, Virginia. And I just want to make a few comments about today's storm surveys that we're doing throughout the region. We have four teams that have gone out to various parts of the area. Myself, I'm doing the Montgomery County survey into Howard County. I've got a colleague of mine that is doing Baltimore County up through Middle River, Maryland, where I'm aware just now that there is some damage to a mobile home park near Middle River. And we have another team that's up into north central Maryland, Carroll County, up in that area. And then we've got a fourth team that went west, Loudoun County, and also to the eastern panhandle of West Virginia near Inwood. So it appears that we've had at least two or three several long track tornadoes across the region today, or last night. And first of all, I just want to mention the fact that there was injuries here in the city of Gaithersburg. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank all the first responders and people who are cleaning up the damage last night as well as today. It's quite an extensive bit of work, as you can see. So as of right now, from my assessment, and this is all preliminary, we're going to try to get out a notification to the media by 6 p.m. news tonight, where it will be finalized, our preliminary assessment. But I'm seeing winds up to 105 miles per hour in this area, and evidence of a lot of spotty damage. So what happens a lot is these tornadoes will skip through, they'll touch down briefly, they'll pick back up, they'll go 4 or 5 miles, drop down again, and do damage. So the good news is from the best of my knowledge, we've had only 5 injuries, and all 5 of those are very important, of course. But it could have been a lot worse with winds of 105 miles per hour. So with that, I want to turn this over to Chris Burt, Senior Emergency Manager with Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, and I'll be able to take questions after Mr. Burt is completed.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Burt, Bravo, Ulysses, Robert, Tango. I'm the Senior Emergency Manager for Mass Care Operations for the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here to give you a preliminary update on the mass care efforts from the Department of Health and Human Services for Montgomery County. Right now we're looking at preliminary roughly 5 to 6 homes that have been impacted by this event. Also with that we have reported 5 hospitalizations or 5 residents transported to the hospital. Their status is unknown at this time, but they were transported. On scene right now, we have our partners with the American Red Cross that are doing initial damage assessments in the neighborhood. They're walking throughout the neighborhood to see who is home, what residents are home, and if they're in need of assistance. They have an emergency response vehicle on scene. They also have a disaster trailer filled with supplies that can with cleanup supplies that can be provided to up to 50 families at this point right now, but more can be given as requested and or needed. That's all I have for right now.
You say impacted, does that mean a tree hit the home, or does it mean damage to the home? What do you mean?
Correct, correct. The impact could be whether a tree impact on the home, the tree has fallen on the home, what have you, and they were inside obviously, and the were hurt.
How many families have been impacted from this last time?
I'm sorry?
How many families?
So if we're looking at roughly half a dozen families, we really can't make that judgment because we don't know the home compositions at this present time, who's inside the homes. But we can count on, at minimum, five families impacted right now.
So are you able to speak at all about the alert system? There were some people were saying that they didn't get alerts that Montgomery County out.
No, man. I mean, I got alerts, so I really can't speak to those who said they may or may not have gotten it. Several of people that I know have gotten alerts throughout the county.
Do you think the system did work and alert?
Yes.
I don't know if this question for either one of you, but how rare is an outbreak of a tornado of this magnitude?
So it is Okay. It's very rare to have this many at one time. I remember when I first came on board, we had the remnants of Hurricane Ivan come through in 2004, and we certainly had that many and even stronger tornadoes. So I've been the meteorologist in charge here for about 20 years. I would think this is probably one of the top 2 or 3 events from a tornado standpoint that I've experienced here. And to address the question too about the wireless, the emergency alerts, I have interviewed a couple people now who have got confirmation that they received the wireless emergency alerts on their phones before the tornado struck. So the way it works is that the National Weather Service in Sterling, we issue the warning, and then it goes out to the broadcast community, and then also a system is set up where phones are alerted, and people have to opt out of that. And again, I strongly encourage people to check their phones and make sure that they do have their wireless emergency alerts on for weather.
How rare is it to have these long tornadoes that we're talking about? I mean, if you look at how massive that is, it wasn't just a little funnel cloud. I mean, this thing was massive.
Yes, when I say long track, the way of the science works here is that you'll spin up a tornado, and it will start, and it will just continue to progress. In this case, it started in Leesburg, outside Leesburg, Virginia, and made its way all the way up to northeast of the city of Baltimore. Now, there's not continuous damage along that whole track, but it just will pop down, do some damage, pop back up, and just continue on for a couple hours like it did.
And when we saw the video coming in out of Poolsville, we saw there was a large wedge tornado coming through. So when it made its way over here and it weakened, but I mean, that's something that you see in the Midwest or the plains.
Yes, you know, the range of tornadoes we're talking about in this event looks to be either EF0 or EF1. Certainly, that's considered minor on that Fujita enhanced scale, which goes from EF0 to EF5. So again, EF0 and EF1s are considered minor, and I don't want to denigrate any type of damage and injuries that were done, because if a minor tornado does hit, it does have a serious impact. We'll have to see. I'm a little bit doubtful of that, but again, being in the profession for so long, you just have to wait and keep your open mind and just see what's coming in from the field, like we're doing right now with the 4 teams that are across the region. Yes.
You had seen 2 or 3 tornadoes that hit. Is that, do you not have enough data to determine whether it was 2 or 3, or is that something that it's difficult to specify?
Well, what happens is that we have policy in the Weather Service that we can determine if it's one tornado, which lasts for a long amount of time on the ground, or if it pops up and doesn't do damage, but is still a funnel cloud, and it might go 4 or 5 miles and go back down, that might be considered 2 tornadoes. But we know that the one that went through Poolsville to Gaithersburg to Columbia, which is where I'm headed next, up into Middle River, that was one supercell that did intermittent damage from Leesburg all the way up to Middle River, Maryland, northeast of the city of Baltimore.
Do you have an estimate on the mileage of that?
I don't off the top of my head, but we'll have that all that information in the public information statement that we'll be releasing this evening.
When was the last time you've seen an EF1 or EF0, and you know, is this a sign of things to come? You know, is this a change?
No, actually in our area we average about 10 to 15 EF0 or EF1 tornadoes a year. So we have not seen an uptick in tornadoes in our region looking at the past 20 years of record.
It seems like a lot of times they pop up in Charles County coming off of Potomac, but even in this region of Montgomery County, Loudon, you would say?
Oh yes, yeah, this whole region, this time of year from essentially April 15th to July 15th is our peak convective season. And, you know, we just have to be alert for the wind patterns and, you know, be on top of things from a radar so that we can issue the warnings and get the words out to the public so they can take action. One thing that I do also want to talk about is action. What people should do when they hear a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. You want to get inside to a sturdy building. That's very, very important. Inside room, preferably a basement. And that's where you ditch for a while until you feel that it's safe. but don't be outside. An automobile can be dangerous as well. It will protect you from lightning, but it will not protect you from getting rolled over if a bad tornado hits you. And I can give you an example. 2 weeks ago in Nelson County, Virginia, which is just south of Charlottesville, a man perished who was fishing on the James River. He heard our warning and got inside of a car. And from a lightning perspective, he's protected inside of an automobile, but he's not protected from big limbs falling. And that's exactly what happened, and unfortunately we lost a life. So I can't reiterate enough. From the bottom of my heart, I'm a Washingtonian, native Washingtonian, actually a fifth-generation Washingtonian. Get inside a building. When you start hearing thunder, go indoors. You want to be protected yourself.
So when you talk about 105 miles per hour wind,
Yes.
how do you describe that? How do people wrap their mind around it? Can you equate that to anything that people can relate to? That kind of force?
Nothing comes to mind right now. All I know is it is destructive. It will rip up trees. It will rip siding off. It will blow out windows and garages. It will snap trees. Right here over across the street of 355, I actually saw 2 trees that were snapped, and they actually fell into one another. So again, that's indicative of a tornado. We're looking for things that are maybe not straight line winds where everything's falling in the one direction, but right across the street, there are 2 trees that are about, I'd say 30 yards away from each other, and they both were snapped and they fell toward one another.
Are you seeing mostly tree damage? Or
Mostly tree damage.
No roofs coming out indicative to a stronger potential?
Well, actually, if a tree is snapped, it's a stronger wind than if it's uprooted. So I'm seeing both.
And can you talk about how typical it is with tornadoes to really just have damage in specific areas versus widespread, but where you have the damage, man, you've got the damage.
Could you repeat your question one more?
Yeah, so how typical of it is it with tornadoes to have damage in specific areas, whether it's along the path, because you drive through part of
Right.
the day,
Nothing.
and
Right.
then you go through the area.
No, that's pretty typical in tornadoes. I surveyed an EF2 tornado in Fredericksburg, Virginia, about 10 years ago, and there were houses that were down on the foundations, and the houses 2 doors down were not harmed at all. So it's really, there's an aspect of, chance that's in it, but that's why everyone, once you get that warning, you need to go inside, preferably to an interior room, preferably in a basement, and protect yourself.
I know you talked about safety a little bit already, but in the age of social media that we're living in, everyone kind of wants that video and all that. Can you reiterate how important it is to not be a storm chaser if you are not trained to be one, and how important it is to stay safely?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend enough, and I'll just continue to say it. If you know a storm is approaching, get inside. Okay, that video is not worth taking that video because the debris gets caught up into the funnel, and it will, just stay resident until it, gravity takes over, and it could be falling from the sky. So you could have, sheets of plywood, 2x4s, whatever, hit you. And while you may not actually see a tornado on the ground next to you, there's fallout from where it maybe hit, 3 minutes before.
Have you gotten any reports of fallout, like how far any debris may have gone?
We have not.
And what's next for you? You said you have another report coming around 6 o'clock. So what between now and then are you and your team going to be doing?
Yeah, so we got the 4 teams out right now. We're all planning on getting back to the main forecast office in Sterling, Virginia, which is directly adjacent to Dulles Airport. And what we'll do is we'll lay it all out, put the data together, compare it to our radar analysis, and then we'll start putting out public information statements that will actually classify these tornadoes. In the meantime, we also have a threat of weather this afternoon. So, this is typical. The weather happens all the time. This is our peak convective season. We're very busy at the National Weather Service here in Sterling, Virginia.
When was the last time you remember having this many tornado reports in a day?
I would say it was Ivan, back in, I believe the year was 2004.
Hurricane.
Yeah, very often we'll get, there was also in 2011, the April 2011 breakout. So that was, but those were also larger tornadoes. That was also tropical sourced. So, from a non-tropical situation, this is a little bit unique.
And then people were describing, they said, some people said they heard a noise, they thought it was a tornado, and then other people were describing they heard a transformer. I mean, can you describe what that was, or what maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends upon where you're at. Certainly, the wind going through trees. If you ever gone through a hike in a forest or something like that, you'll hear the wind whistling through the trees. Well, the only difference is that the wind is not whistling; it's roaring through trees at 105 miles per hour. And transformer pops and things like that are very common in these type of winds.
So essentially, this whole area was developed.
Again, I don't want to say lucky, but because people have damage to their homes, they're having to pay out insurance and all that. But to have perhaps 10 to 15 tornadoes and 5 injuries, that is fortunate. We'll just put it that way. We want to minimize loss of life and loss of property. That's the mission of the National Weather Service, and that's why we're here to serve the community.
10 to 15?
What's that?
Is it 10 to 15?
That's an estimate. Again, wait until this afternoon, and we'll put it all out in a nice format. Our website is weather.gov/Washington. Amtrak.
Your 10 to 15 includes the West Virginia.
Yes.
Baltimore
Yes.
area.
Yes.
Yeah, for those of us who are not your own district, what have you, is it fair or safe to say, when you talk about this starting in Leesburg and all that, is this part of one system?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but multiple tornadoes happening within the course of one system in Leesburg and going all the way into Baltimore County, Middle River.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called a convective complex.
Okay.
And these things happen, cluster of thunderstorms, and the wind was just right with just the right amount of instability to cause these storms last night. All right, just a couple more questions if you have.
Can we talk to you then?
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Can you say and spell your name one more time? I know we got yours.
It's James Lee, L-E-E.
That's easy.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Burt, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm not sure. Can you-
Just call me Bert. It's
Okay.
easy to remember. Too many Chris's in the world.
When's the last time that you remember something like this, these tornadoes, this many coming across Montgomery County?
I've been in the area for 12 years, and I don't think I've seen anything like it since I've been here. Have I seen it in other parts of the area in my careers? Yes. But in this area, no, I have not seen it, honestly.
What's like the worst and most damage that you've seen, and what area around here would you describe?
Probably around the Holly Drive or the Pinoy Drive area, where there's a tree that is fallen on top of the homes. We have 2 trees, 2 homes impacted in that manner, in that physical damage manner.
And can you clarify, the 5 people sent to the hospital, were they all in the same home or multiple homes?
I can't comment on that. That I don't know. And if I could say one more thing, with Mr. Lee's assessment as far as the weather time frames that we're in, or the times that we're in, this is the perfect time to be prepared in the event for other pending weather systems coming through. Have a go bag. Have a plan in place. Have a communications plan in place. Just be prepared. Be adequately insured. To Mr. Lee's point, we never want to see a loss of life or property, but I think as residents, if we take more of a proactive stance in these events as they come, the impact should be less or not as unfortunate as it may be right now.
Forgive me for asking this. I'm waiting. But somebody from the county I heard yesterday say you expected injuries today from debris and that sort of thing. Have you had any reports of that? I apologize.
As of what we know, preliminary reports, we've been told that there's been 5 transports to the hospital.
I mean, not from the tornado.
You mean from the cleanup?
Yeah,
People
from the
walking
cleanup.
around
Someone
and
from the county.
not
said
As far as I know, no. There's a lot of restoration crews on scene. A lot of residents are being proactive in their cleanup. So everybody is pulling together, and there doesn't seem to be any injuries to my knowledge.
Any power outages still? Or?
Pepco is on scene right now, so they would definitely be the folks that you need to talk to. But from what I see, people still have power. But I would follow up with Pepco.
How about cell towers, cell service? It's horrendous in this area, and it usually isn't this bad. Do you know if any of those communication towers were impacted in the storm at all?
I'll leave that to Mr. Lee. He might be able to tell you. But to my knowledge, no.
You're not having any issues with
No,
your
ma'am.
cell
No, ma'am.
phone?
We're not even a ceasing in reception.
Oh.
Yep.
All
I'm
right.
able to
You
send
must not-
data back to the office by phone. So.
Okay.
I need to take off for a minute. For if you have any quick questions, I can take them over here. But I really need to get to Howard County. Thank you very much.
Oh, I do have.
So I was in Silver Spring, and my son and I never got it.
And where in Howard County are you from?
On you, and I know that we get them all the time.
Is it Oakland Mills High School?
Is
it
Was it
95
Highland,
north of
Highland?
Route 32?
Maybe it was like Highland or something.
Or between 175? I thought,
That's
I know
Elkridge,
it's tornadic damage on the along the highway. So.
I'm curious because I live in Howard County.
So do I.
I was sheltering in place.
Waterloo,
My comment was
Waterloo
there, too.
Road,
Okay.
Hammer Drive,
Tamar, Tamar Drive. Do you have a number?
and Phelps Left Drive.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yes.
Like whereabouts you guys have crews out in Loudoun County?
Waterford. And also other places like West.
Thank you so much. I was going to come ask for that.
And
Okay.
You're welcome. What's that?
any look, the 4 teams that were out, are any of them here?
You said Holly?
Oh, you're the team?
Yeah, he's the team.
Why do they, okay, so you're going to 4
Okay.
places.
No, I'm going to two, well, I've been to many places, but Montgomery County and Howard County is my assignment.
Okay.
Okay,
So I got
okay.
3 other teams out around the region.
Good question over here.
Okay.
And then the 2 to 3 tornadoes will, by 6 o'clock tonight, will you know if it's more than that? Like
Yes.
which one specifically? Okay.
Yeah, we hope to. And sometimes these things even take more than just one day. We might have to go back and reassess, but it's like, doing woodwork. You do a rough cut first, and then you go in and do a fine cut, then you start sandpaper and finish it off.
So safe to say at least 2 in Montgomery County.
Two
2 tornadoes.
2 to 3 is what you said?
Again, I have to look at a map and determine that. There's damage in Poolesville. There's damage here in Gaithersburg. And I believe there's some damage also in Durwood. So I've got to go and, we've got to put it all together, map it all out, look at the weather service policy, see what it is.
So at least
I can
2
tell you
in
there's
the...
at
Okay.
least one.
At least one?
Okay.
Okay. 'cause
Did you
before
survey
said
Poolesville?
2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's from the same storm, but it drops down and does damage. It comes back up into the cloud. Then, 5 miles later, it does more damage. And that's the progression. And that's what I got to determine to see if it's going to be, like if there's one in Poolesville, and I'll just illustrate this. If there's one in Poolesville and one in Laurel, okay, that's a long distance. We would call that 2 tornadoes. Okay, so we got to determine all that, on whether there's 2 or 3 or 1. I doubt there's 1 because there is going to be a lot of distance between the damage that I've seen. So just hold on and you'll see that information.
Okay. Quick question. Did you survey Poolesville too?
Yes.
Okay. And question, so how does the damage look out in Poolesville with the tornado even being larger there,
Yeah,
based on video and images?
Yeah, it seems like there was more widespread and concentrated damage in Poolesville off of Whites Ferry Road and another road that I can't recall right off the top of my head, but real concentrated damage with large trees snapped and uprooted.
Are you still thinking that potentially could be EF0 to EF1 or stronger than here?
No, after seeing the damage across the street here off of Summit Avenue, I'm going to think that this is going to be as equal as strong as Poolesville. It just didn't have real concentrated damage like it did in Poolesville.
Okay. And when you saw that video of, the shelf, or should say the wedge tornado coming through, I mean, what were your thoughts when you saw that?
Actually, I didn't see it.
Okay.
I was on the road. We do get those videos into our office, and our office, assess it. But we're really more focused in on doing radar analysis and issuing warnings than looking at videos during an outbreak like that.
Okay. And you said you're a fifth generation, fourth generation Washingtonian.
Fifth generation.
So yeah, we got to get all the family in there. You know, when's the last time you've seen something like this that wasn't, you know, hurricane related or, you know, hurricane enhanced across this area?
You mean in terms of being so widespread?
Yeah, the tornado outbreaks. And
It's probably been since April 2011.
it's pretty unusual, though.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it is to have this much damage due to tornadoes. We see frequently widespread straight line wind damage. That happens all the time. The derecho, for instance, comes to mind. But in terms of widespread tornado damage, this is probably one of the top 3 events that I've seen in my 20 years.
And do you think, you know, we're lucky that, you know, no one died in this? You know, we really are based on the damage. And
Yeah, certainly, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, National Weather Service #1 mission is protection of life and property, and that's what we do. That's our name of our game. And, you know, working with the Federal Communications Commission, getting these wireless emergency alerts. I talked to a woman last night who got her alert on the telephone, and she went to the basement, which was exactly the right thing to do. So the system works. Just be attentive, be weather aware.
technology's really helped.
Yes, it has.